research and sustainable development. I welcome you on the behalf of the Chancellor and Chair, Board of Regents, Dr. Adeyemi Adeniyi, and also on the behalf of my dear and amiable Vice Chancellor, Professor Adeyemi Adeniyi, and the entire management team to Covenant University. I equally wish to appreciate the Dean, the organizing Dean, Professor Tim Anake, and his, of course, team, including the new Dean, Professor Luatayo. I also wish to appreciate the LOC Chair, Professor Chinedu, and his wonderful team for a good job. I'm delighted to welcome distinguished guests, speakers, facilitators, and participants to the first College of Science and Tech conference with the theme Science, Technology, and Innovative for Translational Research and Sustainable Development. Dear esteemed guests, distinguished speakers, delegates, and colleagues from around the world, this gathering reflects Covenant University's enduring commitment to advancing knowledge, and I'm truly delighted to see so many forward-thinking minds gathered here, both yesterday and of course today. And we're all united by our shared commitment to harnessing the power of science and technology to shaping a sustainable, innovative, and equitable future. In a world of accelerating change, issues such as climate change, global health crisis, resource depletion, and social inequalities demand creative and sustainable solutions. This conference is a testament to our commitment to addressing these issues with translational research, bridging scientific discovery, and practical, impactful solutions. The conference theme focuses on the interplay between science, technology, and innovative practices, all aimed at advancing translational research. This is moving beyond discovery to implementing sustainable development solutions. We can, of course, with this, achieve transformative change. We can equally achieve positive and impactful community service, change of economies, and of course, it will impact on our environment. I believe that during this conference, we shall all be privileged to hear from leading experts in diverse fields who will be here to share their cutting-edge research, who will bring in case studies, and of course, groundbreaking technologies. I wish to encourage you all to engage actively, ask questions, share insights, and bring about connections that will drive future collaborations. Together, I believe we can build a network that not only pushes the boundaries of knowledge, but also champions the translation of that knowledge into real-world application, and it's by so doing that it will benefit humanity. I want to thank all of our participants, our sponsors, the organizers who have worked tirelessly to make this conference possible. Your contributions are invaluable, and your dedication inspires us all. Covenant University is a high-intensity research university. We are well ranked to the glory of God by the Times Higher Education World University Ranking, and the latest ranking shows that we are number 1 in Nigeria, number 1 in West Africa, and number 6 in Sub-Saharan Africa. If you want to put your hands together. Thus, as a university, we encourage research collaboration. We encourage networking opportunities with individuals, with universities, research institutes, and other stakeholders. I look forward to such partnerships being formed during this conference. With this, I formally welcome you to this conference, and I wish you all a most impactful conference that will become a reference point for translational research. May our time together be inspiring, insightful, and impactful. I wish to let us know that this opportunity is there for us to seize, even as we shape a future where science and technology will lead us to a more sustainable, resilient, and inclusive world. I welcome you once again, and God bless you. I wish to our speakers that are here to thank you very much, especially Dr. Thank you. Deal Cleachers. When I saw that, I was impressed. Thank you, and God richly bless you.
Let's put our hands together one more time for Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Adeyemi. Thank you, sir. Without further ado, we go into the first lecture for today. That will be taken by Dr. Adeyemi Adeniyi. But before he mounts the podium, I would like to call on Dr. Adekoya to please give his citation.
Thank you, sir. Once again, good morning, everybody. Standing on existing protocol, I would like to request the speaker for this occasion to rise up, Dr. Adeyemi Adeniyi, while I give his citation. Dr. Adeyemi Adeniyi, the MD CEO, Deal Cleachers Reactor Limited, and Chairman, Ogun State Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria. Dr. Adeyemi is the MD CEO of Deal Cleachers Reactors Limited, Nigeria's #1 provider of luxury homes and affordable lands. Dr. Adeyemi Adeniyi has always displayed and maintained a high-flying spirit as exemplified in his educational career pursuits. In his super-loaded bag of achievements, he has bachelor's degree in economics from Ogun State University, master's degree in public administration from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomoso, diploma in accounting, master's in housing development from the University of Lagos in View, Lagos Business School, Pan-African University, a honorary degree in philosophy from Eskai, Benin University, Benin Republic, and so on and so forth. He is undoubtedly a man of many feats, especially while building a career in real estate sector of Property Mart Investment Limited, where he was the first head of marketing, first accountant, first acquisition manager with the MD, first personnel assistant to the MD, first head of Property Mart, Fellowship Incorporated International, and first branch manager of Property Mart Investment Limited in Abuja. I think you will give him rounds of applause for that. He has delivered more than 12 estates in Nigeria, both for organizations worked for and those partnered with, among whom are Trumville Properties Limited. Dr. Adeyemi has over 14 years of cognate experience in practical construction and sales, and has been privileged to have been used by God to give properties to over 1,000 people. So join me as I invite our distinguished guest speaker to deliver his address to us on this auspicious occasion. You are welcome, sir.
God for this opportunity, which I do not take for granted. I want to appreciate the Vice Chancellor in absentia, but we have the DVC here, so I'm singularly honored to have him seated here. Also the Dean
including every organizers of this event, professors, doctors, and every management of this esteemed institution. I want to say thank you so much for approving of me to be here today. As introduced, I'm Adeyemi Adeniyi, popularly known as the number one bishop of real estate in Africa. And by privilege, it started like a joke, but I saw that God does not know jokes. Number one bishop of real estate in Africa. People always ask me, what inspired that name? Why bishop of real estate? The only bishop that does real estate. And having the privilege of a relationship with the the Chancellor, Bishop David Oyedepo. So, Bishop of Real Estate, Bishop of the ministry. So, which one exactly are you doing? So, I'm the only bishop who has the privilege of giving properties to people. So, I don't know, other bishops we pray that God will answer your prayer, but I practicalize the scripture by handing over properties to people. So I really want to thank God. And by privilege, the chairman of the Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, the Ogun State chapter, where I'm privileged to be standing. I'm standing on the territory of my jurisdiction as the chairman of Ogun State. So I have, some understanding of what the issues are when it comes to housing, especially as it concerns Ogun State and Nigeria as a whole. From my profile read, by His grace, this is almost the 17th year in the industry. So I didn't just pick interest in housing. It's a calling for me. It's beyond what it's beyond thing I want to do for profit. It is a calling because I was made to see that there is an evil in this generation where we see many people work so hard who cannot point to what they do with money. And God opened my eyes to see, to look back into the lives of many of our parents, grandparents who are actually, who were mostly civil servants in their days, who work and they earn little, but yet they were still able to do something in the area of housing, build houses, either small, whether it's an ornamented round house, which we call face me, I face you. But the fact was this, many of them were still house owners. And now we have a number of people in our generation who work very hard and earn millions. Yet they can afford to buy the most luxurious car of our time. But yet, everywhere seems to be too far away for them. Every opportunity you give to them, you discover they tell you it is too far. And so, not even a half plot, a 250 square meter land or 300 square meter land is in their name, yet they complain about the state of the economy. As I used to say recently, that things will never get better. That's the truth. Because even from the days of our parents, I listened to a song which was traced back to that time in Yoruba that says, "Ìlú le o kò sówó lóde, obìnrin ń kígbe, ọkùnrin ń kígbe, kálukú ló ń kígbe owó," meaning that the country is hard and things are hard. Everybody is shouting, and yet um, it's been since then in the 80s that the song was sung, and if they were singing it then, so which song should we be singing now? All right. So it is to let you know it may never get better. It is just for us to sit down and analyze what the challenges are and see how we profess solution and move forward. As a roundup in this that I'm saying, there was a thesis that was written in University of Lagos, and it was centered around housing and was looking at the difference and the difference between the teaching staff and the non-teaching staffs, and it was paying more emphasis to who exactly among these two buys or owns homes the most. Is it the teaching staffs or the non-teaching staffs? So At the end of the thesis, it came out to say that the non-teaching staff's own houses the most. And so we delve deeper to asking, to reading what exactly made non-teaching staffs to own homes the most. They discovered that from the survey that was carried out, they discovered that many of them were together in terms of they come together to do what we call ajo or isusu. So some of them do a work on, permit me to use that language, that is one hand. Some do two, some do three. And so from the little they earn, they were still able to put those money together and they collect. In fact, some of them are compassionate to the point where they tell themselves, I need this money for something more important. Can you give me the opportunity to collect next? And so they collect and they carry that money. Some of them move from where they work in Lagos, they come and buy land in Ifo, in Songo, and many of them go through trains to the office every day as they wake up as early as 5 a.m. to be on their way to Lagos. And when they call Association of Landlords or Landladies, they still come out to say, I own one. Now, we saw the case study of a professor who had worked in the University of Lagos for about 35 years. 35 years. And now it was time for him to leave. Unfortunately, there was nowhere for him to go. Everywhere was far for him. He had the opportunity of enjoying all the good things of life within the confines of the University of Lagos. And now it is time to move forward. There was no place to go. So he was given a 6 month extension for him to stay back and look for a solution. So they were looking for a house for him to rent after 35 years of service. And so it was very difficult. Eventually, they were able to get a place in Ketu Alakwere. You know, for some of us, we may know that place. And when they saw the house, there was an instruction, a caveat placed on the apartment. It was a room and parlor, or like called mini flats. And so the landlord had put a caveat that anybody who must use the house, I'd like to meet the person before payment is made. And eventually, they met. And fast forward. Ah, Mutiu, hello, Zembi. Go and call your guy. I know you are working here again. And Mutiu said, there's no one guy to call. I'm the privileged owner of this place. Mutiu happened to be his former driver in the University of Lagos. And while Prof was saying everywhere was far for him, Mutiu came to buy a bush then, which has turned to a city today called Ketu Alakwere. Now, the same goes. I had to come this way for us to know we're in an academic environment, and many of us are making that mistakes today, saying everywhere is far. Now, oh, I mean, if you don't have anything in Lekki, I'm not interested. You don't have anything in Ikeja. If I tell you the price of Lekki and Ikeja, how many people will be able to afford it? But every bush today is where we have turned into a city tomorrow. So let me move into my slide in a jiffy so that we can pick one or two things. There's nothing new I want to say. Many of us are scholars in this industry, and I quite believe that you must have seen, heard, or of course, you are my orgas. But it's just the difference between the two of us might be that I'm practically involved in the day-to-day running of these things. So for the purpose of the presentation, I'll do my presentation, but along the line, I may be having some practical lessons learned in the last number of years. By privilege, I've not only dealt in the housing space in Nigeria, but in other parts of Africa and also in some parts of Europe by the grace of God. So I can say confidently that there's a huge deficit, there's a huge gap in our housing sector. Okay. Sorry, is there any, okay, sir, thank you. Thank you, sir. So where shall I point it to? The screen. Oh, here, okay. Oh, okay, thank you, thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, so we want to look at bridging housing deficits in Nigeria through science, technology, and innovation, as I've been instructed to take. And so in this session, we'll explore the critical needs to bridge the gap in the housing deficit in Nigeria, and I'll highlight the challenges facing the sector and propose public-private strategies to drive efficient housing through science, technology, and innovation. And I'm referencing the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, April 2024. So um, I want us to look at these facts as we have here, and let us look at all of the countries, the population average, and the stock deficit, deficit to population ratio, and adequate housing index. Our emphasis is Nigeria. Now, as at this time, we had average population, of course, about 188 million, but in the real sense of it, um, we're looking at about 220 million to 230 million. Unfortunately, we do not really have that 100% statistics that we can hold on to say this is, talking specifically, this is what we have. Now, in Nigeria, we look at the stock deficit about 15.5 million, and the deficit to population ratio is about 8%. Now, of all of these countries we have here, the one that seems to be doing so much in the housing space seems to be Egypt, which is a 1%. Now, and to that end, we'll see what exactly is happening. I remember one of those times that we had to look at what is happening in the housing sector in some parts of Africa. And we saw that, in all honesty, you cannot compare what is happening when it comes to a provision of housing. You cannot compare to what is happening in different parts of Africa, comparing it to Nigeria. For example, if we don't have Rwanda here, Rwanda is doing tremendously well when it comes to provision of housing in Africa. And as at the last time I visited Rwanda, it was still acclaimed to be the neatest, that's the neatest city in Africa as at today, apart from the fact that they provide housing. So what exactly are we doing wrong, and what exactly can we do much better? Now, let's review the government's initiatives in the Nigerian housing sector. Now, we have the National Economic Empowerment and Development Strategies, called NEETS. So it was launched in 2003, and NEETS aims to eradicate poverty, create wealth, and promote affordable housing by reviewing the Land Use Act and encouraging the use of local materials. Now, the truth is this: without gainsay, one of the biggest challenges we have that has to do with housing provision is the fact that we use imported materials. Now, majority of what we use to build, as you know, are imported. Now, at one of the strategic meetings at the management level in our organization, at some point, we had to say we need to begin to look at how to build only carcass and sell, and not do finishing. Because when you sell projects on off-plan basis, where you are, anticipating that, oh, by the bill of quantity given, or you do some little markup and all of that, you should finish this house maybe for maybe 1,000 naira, for example. And by the time you are going to finish, because we do not have control over the forces of market and supply, now you discover that at the end of the day, if naira falls again and dollar appreciates more, the prices that you need to buy those things increases. Now, the only condition for which you can build and sell off plan and successfully sell, and you don't run at a loss, is if you are buying, stockpiling all of your building materials from the beginning to the end. You store it in a place. So that is the only time you are exempted from being affected. But when you talk about local materials, how many of that do we produce here? And that's the reason why. So one thing we must go home with from here is, in the midst of all of this darkness, how are we, what light are we seeing in it? It means that if we can come up with production of materials for finishing at the local level, it will gain acceptability. Now, there is a tire producing company on Lagos Ibadan Expressway. I don't want to mention their name. Now, they are doing tremendously well because people would prefer, even though their tiles are much more expensive than the normal Chinese tiles that you want to go for, but it is still more durable, produced in Nigeria. When you talk about cables in wiring in the course of construction, Nigerian cables are much more better than foreign cables anywhere. That's the truth. So we want to buy into it. But when we don't produce as much as we should, it's difficult actually to have. So we have more demand than what is being produced. Even the ones we are producing here, because of the dollar exchange rate, it's more higher. So at the end of the day, estate developers may have no choice than to go for the cheaper ones in order to be able to deliver. Now, let's look at Vision 2020. This long-term plan aims to improve housing affordability and accessibility by developing a new land administration system, improving housing finance, and privatizing the Federal Housing Authority. You agree with me that this Vision 2020, maybe it should be extended to 2030. Because honestly, there is a huge challenge in the housing sector. As a practitioner in the industry, we have there is a particular group of us, the estate developers group. I don't always like to open that group. It's a compilation of estate owners across Lagos and other parts of Nigeria. Policies that somebody just wake up on the wrong side of the bed, they just implement a policy, they introduce a policy and implement immediately that will turn a man who started real estate with the hope of profiling housing profiling problem, solution to the housing problem. That man who set out, who gathered funds, some of our colleagues actually gathered funds from different parts of the world to come and settle in Nigeria to solve this problem. That sincere man, overnight, because of one policy, turned to a fraudulent man. Because you bought properties, you applied for the titles, and you made statutory payments, and suddenly it's not signed. And one policy says they want to do or expand road or put bridges around that side, and the land is taken away from you. How do you explain to people who have paid for such properties? So the government should see to it that our vision, the Vision 2020, is being revealed and looked into, and we look at how to develop a new land administration system. The one we have currently needs to be looked into. All right, number 3, economic recovery and growth plan, adopted for the 2016 recession. So now the economic recovery growth plan aimed to achieve the construction of 10,000 housing units per annum by 2020, implement the family homes funds, and recapitalize the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. You know, the truth is this, all these things they are not rocket science. They are doable. Because if we can see how things work in places like where we are, it means with public funds, it should work better. Now, this economic recovery growth plan, when after the 2016 recession, now to provide housing, the biggest challenge we have as estate developers is access to land. Now, from the Land Use Act, what we were told is that the land belongs to government. If you go to Rwanda, one of the things that makes it easy for the Rwandan government to be able to provide these houses is because if you are going in as on a PPP, level, that's public-private partnership level, now they give you land, you bring funds to build on it, and you share these properties between your company and the government. Is it difficult to do? Now, if you drive from Ojodu Bega in Lagos and you drive to Ibadan, you'll agree with me that we still have a lot of land that have not been used. on the right and on the left. But if you go and search properly, you discover that many of this land already have been allocated to some people, not people who are ready to develop on it, but of course, land speculators and many people who might probably be at the ends of affair. So, if we indeed are serious about this, of course, many of us may not like of course, what one of the administrators is doing in one of the states in Nigeria. I don't want to mention the name of that place, but he's revoking allocations from people who have held it for years and giving it to those who are ready to build right now. Now, in many of our estates where we do, or some of our estates where we do a site and service scheme, so once we put the land up and people have bought into it and we give you a letter of allocation, we put a caveat on it. If you are allocated and in 6 months you have not done anything on the land, we have the right to reallocate you. Because, for instance, if you have block A to Z within an estate and you allocate block B, let's say block A is built by the company prototypes, and from block B to Z, you start allocating to people, you allocate B, C, D first. So the first batch of people who bought the property. And if they don't build on it 6 months after, and people who you allocated from block D, E, and F2 are now the ones building, how do you want to showcase development within the estate? So if you don't do anything within 6, so if private organizations are doing it, why is it difficult for the government to be able to do that? People are allocated properties and they hold on to it. If they don't do anything about it, you take it from them. And that's what we are seeing happen in one of the states in Nigeria. Number 4, medium-term national development plan. Now, the current medium-term plan between 2021 and 2025 aims to achieve improved access to affordable housing by providing 1 million housing units per year and achieving a real estate to GDP ratio of 8.38% by 2025. Now, provision of 1 million housing, do you think is actually doable in Nigeria? Is it realistic? It's realistic. Oh, okay. Professor Abato. Doctor. It's realistic. True. It's doable. But we have a challenge. As long as we don't produce here the materials needed for those housing, it is not realistic. It will amaze you to know that where we are building a 500 unit of houses, just 500 units, now you need to go you need to go out of Nigeria to other parts of Africa to get wood for doors. We don't have enough here. That's the truth. So a lot of these things, you need to seek assistance from other neighboring African countries. Okay, those who are falling trees, who are cutting it into woods for doors and ceiling noggins and the likes, how many of them are still in the farm? Insecurity has sent them away. So you have to go to places that are much more secure to be able to get these things. So the figure seemed realistic if we produce here and if the issue of insecurity is tackled. Most of these things we're talking about, you only find them in forest, the raw materials, and how many people are confident about going into those farms to get these things done again. Number 5, we have the National Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan. So the NIIP outlines the government long-term plans for all infrastructure, including housing, aiming to overcome constraints in providing new housing, increase house ownership, and improve land administration. Now, see, the biggest challenge, as I said earlier, is land. Once the issue of land is sorted, 2, production of raw materials is sorted, 3, insecurity is arrested. If we want to build 10 million houses within a year, it is achievable to cater for the numbers of people that we actually have. All right. Challenges facing Nigeria's housing and urban development sector. 1, mortgage inefficiency. In most parts of the world, you even have mortgage shops in many developed countries. That is, you don't need to go to a mortgage bank. You enter a shop and they set up a profile for you. And once you see any house of your choice, you give them the details of the house and all the paperwork that needs to be done. As long as you have your down payment, which is more like your equity for this house. Maybe a house is selling for maybe 100 naira, and they are asking for an equity of 30%, for instance, or 20% in some cases, which is about 20 naira or 30 naira. Once you have it and you have a good credit rating, then you are qualified for the house. You collect the keys, you start living there, and they set up a payment plan for you minus your age. If age 60 is what you are, I mean, age 40 is what you are at that time, then they know that from age 40, you have 20 years more to set up a payment plan for yourself. Although it is working in Nigeria, but um, not in the real sense of it. Our company, by the grace of God, is trying to access the National Housing Fund for some civil servants who have been remitting payments, NHF payment, that they make deductions from salaries, I think about 6%. Some people, they work all through their lifetime and they never had access to these funds that are being deducted from their salaries. And so we looked at that gap as deal clinchers and we said, you know what we'll do? Let us partner and see the possibility of how we can assess these 6% for these people. And one, build low-cost housing, not really low. There's nothing low again in Nigeria. See how we can build something a bit affordable that can, even if it is just a room, e.g., you have a room and a parlor in a developing area, maybe for like 15 million naira. Now, and you've been paying, remitting to NHF for about maybe 10 years, and you've not been able to access it. Now, we have registered with the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria to see to how we can help those people who have remitted to use their remittance to access their money with the government and hence buy into this 15 million naira house, for example. If private developers doesn't come to the aid in this light, we will continue to go this route. Now, what am I saying? There's mortgage inefficiency. If we have it working efficiently, I can tell you a number of us will be able to access mortgage. And if you can access mortgage, I can tell you more than half of your challenges is resolved. Now, it will amaze you to know that what the Abraham Maslow theory says about you know the Maslow's theory that talks about the basic needs, the food, clothing, and shelter. Now, if those three things are sorted from your needs in life, you are almost more than half, 50% sorted. You don't have landlord coming to harass you, meaning you are in the house of your own, you have something to wear, and there's food to eat. I can tell you more than half of your challenge. I tell people, I say, come, all these everywhere is far that you always say. The truth is this: you can always buy that seemingly far place today. You don't have to park there. You don't have to live there. What do? I told a man, for example, sometimes in Abuja, we're selling a plot of land for 1.3 million naira. And so the land is in Kuje, very close to the airport. And so the man was working in Wuse 2. And so when I marketed him, all he was thinking about was, why would I go and live in Kuje and be working in Wuse 2? About a year after, the property was no longer available. And so we met again, and I told him, I said, sir, so I hope you've now bought a property of your own. He said, no, he has not been able to do that. I said, sir, that land I told you last year for 1.3 million, one is no longer available. If you want to buy in the secondary market, you're going to buy more than times 3 or 4 of the amount you're selling last year. He said, but I mean, I wasn't interested. I said, you know what I tried to tell you last year, sir? I said, I wasn't telling you to pack to Kuje. All I was trying to tell you to do is this: buy that land. When you buy it, with about 5 million naira at that time, maybe about 2011, 2012, about 5 million naira will build you a 4 flat at that time. If you build that 4 flats, as at that time, rent was going for 250,000 naira for 2 bedroom flats in that axis. Collect 250,000 naira from 4 tenants. That is how much? 1 million naira. I said, sir, how much is your rent in Wuse 2? He said 1.5 million. Then you augment with 500,000 naira. I said, over time, what you see happen is that you will see that development will catch up with that place, and you may now decide to go and start living in that place. E.g., as we speak right now, that road, the current minister of the FCT has fixed it, and it's now a tarred road. This is the future that I told him at that time. Because every government will not be the same. We'll still have government that will come that will reform things. So why not try to break that jinx and take a leap of faith and buy into that future? Now, there are some places that we never imagined that train will get to those places. Right now, we have fast trains. Now, and the real sense of it, in most of the developed parts of, in London, for instance, where we know that train system works well, some people walk 2 hours away from their house, and they go there every day and they return every day using the train system. Who says it will work in Nigeria? We already have seen some level of improvement. So what am I saying in essence? If this challenge of mortgage works is tackled, then things would be a lot more better. And as I'm saying that, I'm also telling you that you need to begin to think about how to solve this problem by ourselves. Number 2 is Land Use Act challenges. The Land Use Act of 1978 creates challenges in land ownership, making it difficult to implement land reforms and access titled land. Now, and I wrote here, Anado de Soto, the man who wrote the Mystery of the Capital, the Mystery of Capital, he said, in summary, he said, the reason why the developed world will continue to get developed and things will get better is because of the title system of land. And what does that mean? You acquire land or you acquire a house in any part of the world, in developed countries, you get a title for it. Once you have a title, you have been empowered by the government with that title you have. What does it mean? You want to transact and do a business, just carry your title, take it to the bank as collateral, and you can access funds for business. You see how it works. But in Nigeria, how many of our houses actually have title in the real sense of it? Many of you are seated here. God has blessed you one house or the other. Do you have a CFO for it? And what a CFO will do is for you to be able to have access to liquidity if you have need for funds for a big business. And so if it is not looked into, the Land Use Act challenge, if it is not looked into where people don't go through so much to get titles, then the challenge will continue. We applied for a governor's consent in Lagos, one of our estates in Ikeja, GRA, since 2 years ago plus. It is yet to be signed till now. All payments made 100%. But till now, for like more than a year plus, they said they've not assigned the commissioner that will be signing the consents. And afterwards, they later came to say they are migrating from manual to digital. And so they will do it very soon. And we are hopeful. We're supposed to have signed one particular deal about a year ago. It was also at the stage of consent. And we said without it, we can do about it. So this Peruvian, Anado de Soto, said once you can take care of issues of title, the people will automatically become rich. Now, imagine having in Ogun State like 1 million houses get titled in the next 1 week, and you tell them by the National Orientation Agency informs them that once your house have title, you can get as much as 1 million naira to start a business. We'll give you. Just bring your title. Imagine the revolution that will happen in Ogun State. 1 million naira to about 500,000 homeowners to start a business or to put it on their business, existing businesses. It will affect them. So it has a way of going around to make things better. Number three, rapid population growth and slum proliferation. Now, Nigeria's rapidly growing population, estimated to reach 411 million by 2050, put pressure on existing housing infrastructure and contribute to slum development. You agree with me? Now, in one of my housing programs, I saw that we have close to about 800 people entering Lagos per hour. You didn't hear what I said. About 800 people entering Lagos per hour. So if we have 24 hours, multiplied by 800, multiplied by 7 days, multiplied by 1 month, multiplied by 365 days, then you know that there's a big challenge. And truly, if you live close to Ojota, some people will arrive by Marco Polo, some people will arrive by private cars, some people will arrive with Tanlese. You know Tanlese? You know, you are posh, you are living, you are living, any of you are living in CU, you don't see what's going outside. Amen. Tanlese, that is the trucks. Yes, trailers. Thank you, sir. You know, at some point I went to Ofapoli, and when there was no money to transport ourselves back, we entered Tanlese. So, and everybody stays inside the truck, and you can't sit down. You can only stand, because when you sit down, you are sitting on two people's place. So you stand, and when you match somebody, you can't even look down because of the crowd. You just say, remove your leg. You are matching me. And people enter Lagos in mass every day using that method. And the question is this: where are they going to? The truth is this: most of those cities or other states that have issues of insecurity, the people running away from there, they are coming to places that they deem fit to be secure. And Lagos seems to be one of those cities, the most secure, actually. So they enter. And so that's why you have many people living in slums. They go put up a place together for themselves, and they just have to survive either way. But that is what is putting pressure on the infrastructure that we have. So, for instance, there is, apart from that, you have a nationality that if you will house or accommodate one of them and give them house, there's a particular tribe, not tribe rather, a nationalist. I don't know how to put it. There's a countryman that when you put them in a house, you accommodate one, you have accommodated about 50. We have that country, and then we also have a tribe in Nigeria that if you give house to one, you have supported many people. It has its own pros and cons also. So it puts pressure. But the truth is this: everybody has to survive either way once this problem is not solved. Number four is inadequate subnational capacity. Subnational governments often lack the capacity to implement housing reforms, leading to inefficient land processes, limited access to affordable housing, and building collapses. So we have all of these varying problems now to high poverty incidence and lack of sustainability. Once these issues are not resolved, then we'll still keep going round and round this. Now, let's look at the policy recommendations. Now, commoditize housing and industrialize the process. Commoditize housing and industrialize the process. Streamline the legal framework, e.g., why should my documents that I've used to apply for a title, why should it go through about 20 tables? And the truth is this. Now, in Ogun State, for instance, the government is doing something fantastic when it comes to this legal framework. Now, in getting title, you want to get CFO, the governor does not have to sign physically. He does his signature. So in 1 hour, he signs about 500 CFOs in Ogun State. So these things can actually be done. You need to see. I saw one of the places where the former governor of Lagos State, Governor Babatunde Fashola, was talking about the place of trying to cut down on all of these bottlenecks and bureaucracies and see how we will reduce this too much bureaucratic system of having a file going through many tables. And so it gets to a particular table, it gets stopped because the person sees him or herself as a lord. And if you don't dance to my tune, I always say this thing. Um, I met somebody in the US, and while we got talking, she told me that when I get to Nigeria, I should please see her mother, that she would need my assistance. So I went to see the mother in Nigeria, and the mother told me she went inside and brought out um, a, a particular newspaper and gave me the newspaper. In that newspaper, I just want you to know, have an idea of what year it could be. In that newspaper, there's an advert of a Mercedes-Benz truck. That's the timber carrier. And I saw the advert. It was advertised for 5 naira, the truck, for 5 naira inside that newspaper. Just to give you an idea of what year it could be. Agbegilodo, the brand new Mercedes-Benz, advertised for 5 naira in that newspaper. So to tell you the year it could be. Now, what was the challenge? The man, the husband, it was late at that time that I went to the house. He had applied for a CFO with the government, and he has made all payments, and he has been listed as part of those that were qualified to collect the document. You know, they always come up with a list that you see those who have actually met with all the requirements, and they're going to get this. So inside that list, he was to go and make a payment, and take the teller to the office to collect his CFO, which he did. He made the payment and went to the office with the teller. When he got there, he met the secretary. Lagbaja, sorry, I don't even need to know you. I want to collect my documents. I've seen it. This is a copy of the newspaper where my name came out. And so the woman collected and said to us, I want to collect. Share they told you I want to take care of us. And the man said, have made all your payment too. Maybe next time that will happen. Said, there's no next time. Once you collect your CFO, you won't come back again. Jokingly, the man refused to give the woman something. That was about 1984, 85. I went to see this woman in year 2000 that woman, maybe she chewed the CFO and swallowed it, or she kept it. Unfortunately, she was not on that seat anymore, of course. And the wife and the children were living in a house that was not titled. The woman told me that they've carried about 5 different kings to look into this matter. Nothing has been done. The only solution is this: go back to the Omoniles that sold land to you. I'm talking about a place like Magodo. Go back there and tell them that you misplaced so and so, because all the documents that they had, they've submitted to the government to be able to get a superior document. So they only have photocopies, they don't have something substantial. I said, that's the way out. That's the only way out at that time. I said, but unfortunately, if you go and report yourself to them, you'll buy at the current rate. So if we don't see how to streamline the legal framework, that you have to go and report yourself to somebody before you collect a document, it should be taken out. These are things that you access online in most parts of the West where things seem to be working. I registered a company in America. The same day I registered it, the same day I got my certificate. The same day. How can it not work here? It can actually work. It's just that a lot of people will lose their jobs. But the truth is this: anything called robotic is still going to be operated by human beings. Yes. You still need to talk. Some of people will still need to drive it. Yeah. So, but the fact that that thing will work is a big deal to some people. One of the biggest drink producer, that is beverage producer in Ogun State here, is actually one of the biggest in Africa. From the feedback I got from the MD of the company, from the time they robotized the entire system, the number of waste cut down to about 50% immediately. Theft cut down to about 50% immediately. All manner that people are going home where they pay you salary. You carry one carton, lole, ibolo gbegba, and you will see these people, no nylon is in their body. Àwọn tó ń gbé màálù gbójú window, that is, they can carry a cow through the window and you won't see it on them. One day they sent me a video on one of our project sites, one of our estates. An elderly man had we've done all the wirings in the wall. That is, it's already inside the wall. They pulled out all the wires out, and you're assuming that you are done, you've ticked it, and he wrapped the wire across his waist all the way up and looking like a robot. And from the gate, you know, the way is when they say, Baba, you know, it can't turn 100%. Oh, wait, problem, Baba. There's a challenge here. And it's embarrassing to go and touch him. He's an elderly man. They sent me the video and the picture. I felt bad. I said, this man is getting paid per day, and yet he was not satisfied with what? Greed. They removed the clothes. About Devotron. From like chest all the way down, wrapped, cables everywhere. Do you know how much those cables? Do you know the problem they are causing on those projects? Because you have to go back and rerun cable again. You have cost overrun at the end of the day. So when they sent me their videos and their pictures, oftentimes, so thank you for informing me. I won't say more than that. Because I won't tell them to prosecute them, and I won't tell them not to prosecute them. Just thank you for the information. We have an intelligent and a sound security firm on all our estates, whether it's completed or ongoing construction. If you see anything that is not right, take care of it. It's not my business. So every time they have to tell me, sir, we have one case in so police station. In so they've charged them to court. So what's next? I say, that is why we brought you here. Don't ask me what next. Do your job. That's because what this release this one today, release this one tomorrow, release because they tell themselves. There was a day that they gave me a video of, they did a playback on one of the project sites, and I saw how they were moving reinforcements, that is iron rod, out of sight every night. And in collaboration with the security on site, one of the security men on duty, plus the head of the iron benders, every night. We did a review, 2 weeks, and we saw how things were moving. To move our business every night in the midnight. And they will go and keep it in a nearby primary school. And once it is plenty, they sell it in bulk. So as you are moving in, some people are moving out. Let's streamline the legal framework, approvals, and perfection processes to make housing more tradable. I don't have to go and report to the government if I want to sell my property to another party. The only reason why the other party have sold to, the only reason why they should go to the government should be to probably perfect the deed of assignment for consent, which I told you we applied for consent, and for 2 years it has not been signed. Okay. Devise an effective geomapping strategy. Now, one of my trips, now on this, please let me use this analysis on this commoditized housing and neutralize the process. Now, one of the things that happens here as part of the policy recommendation is this. It is the end users that suffers the most here. And I wrote here the case of Adelaja. Now, Adelaja was the firstborn of his father. And we bought the property from him, about 130 million naira that year. And that particular property, we did all of our search everywhere. It was inherited. So we saw they said there was no will for the property. So we went to the probate and we saw that there were actually a letter of administration there that we could confirm, and which empowered him to sell. They said there were two people that were given back to from the family and all of that. So we confirmed at the probate, and we believed everything was 100% okay, and we paid. Just to discover, while renovation was going on the property, that some people came and they said, this property you are renovating is not only, that we have made deposit for this property. And so it was somewhat disturbing, and we had to take it a step further to go and find out what was going on. And so when we went back to the probate, the head said she had told them to remove that file from the archive, such that when people come to do the search, they will meet it there and they will know that there's a red flag. But when you go there, the file was still there. Somebody had given an instruction to move away the file. They didn't move it away. And so everybody who comes there for a search, they'll still find it there and believe it's okay. Now, we discovered that this Adelaja guy had an internal person who actually was the one working for him, who produced a file. You go there, you find something there. And so the internal system was faulty. Normally, if it was digitized, we may not need all of those things. There was no way they could upload something that never existed there. Later, when we found out, we discovered that the man who died, his father, had a will. And the will didn't give rights to Adelaja to sell. So normally in the West, when there's a will, once it's submitted at probate, it's uploaded online. And so in the course of your search, it can give credence to whoever the property was willed to, and that's the only person you have rights to transact with. But unfortunately, we're not yet there in this part of the world. One project we also bought in Abuja, we discovered that it had 2 CFO. I don't know where you have 2 birth certificates. It had 2 CFO. And you know what happened? When we were about moving to site on that project, and I'm talking about a project of maybe 2010, 2012, 2013, we bought from one party for peace. We bought for one party 130 million, the other party for 70 million, making 200 million. Because if the first party that had the CFO, it was also original CFO. The man actually was well connected to the truth with the government. The other party was well connected to the Guaris. And so, if you think you know government, that you have a CFO, the one who knows the Guari people will not allow you to use the land. And if you think the ones who owns the land, who have access to the Guaris, will allow you buy from him alone, you don't buy from the one that knows the government, they will bring guys to lock up your site. So we have to buy from 2 sources and collected what? The 2 CFO. So there's a big challenge in this part. So there's a need to streamline the legal framework. Let there be systems. Some people working in some of these government parastatals, some of them don't even have an understanding of how to use a system. I'm sorry to say. Yes. So when you say, help me search for this, they look at you that, Oga, ever need the Kepada, well, we need to go through the archive. We need like 6 months to search for it. They are uploading from manual to digital. In the course of that, some files get missing. And also, on this coastal part, another example, these are things that are not, of course, many of you are aware of what is happening on the coastal road expansion, how people have lost land and properties and all of that. It's very, very devastating. Some people have lost, my former company, plus my family, we lost about 12 acres in that place. Each plot selling for about 40 million naira when it was taken. 40 million times 6, multiplied by 12. A lot of people are facing so much in this housing industry. So practically, theoretically speaking, it's good to read it on paper. But practically speaking, it's very, very demanding, and it's a lot of challenge. You just have to seek the face of God on the way forward, on the way out of it. And we have made up our mind that in this nation, we are part of the solution. they won't drive us anywhere. Yes, because the whole idea is when you are frustrated, you should be you pack up your bag and you to japa. Yeah, but we have decided. I've decided. Yeah, we die by His grace. Amen. It will work by the grace of God, and it will be in our lifetime as the Lord lives. In Costa, a lot of issues. You have people who actually gotten judgment over a particular case, and the judgment is not uploaded. And there's another judgment. So they move from one, they'll tell you when you go to lands, they'll tell you that you have to go to where they gave the judgment. When you go to where the judgment was given, they'll tell you the sitting judge at that time is no longer there. Should the case file be his or her personal property? No, things shouldn't be that way. It is too bureaucratic. Now, so the government should see all they can do to industrialize the process and commoditize it. Now, two, devise an effective geomapping strategy. I was at the World Bank some years back, and I saw one of the students who demonstrated and said, I saw a particular woman actually, and she said, you know what she's been able to come up with? If you are looking for an accommodation, all you just need to do is to go to my site and go and punch the address of the property you actually need. Maybe you want a property in Ikeja, for instance, and you are specifying, you ask you which part of Ikeja, and you put Ikeja GRA, and it's asking, do you have any particular streets in mind? And you put Isaac John, for instance. Once you click Isaac John, it brings out all of the houses on Isaac John in 3D formats that you can have a 3D tour on the system, and you can look at all the houses, and each of the houses we have in it, if there's a vacant apartment or everywhere fully occupied, and once you click the vacant one, it can take you into the interior of the house. You can do an inspection from the comfort of your office, and once you like the place, then you can now click who owns the property. You see the details of the landlord, then you can transact online. It has taken away agents that always upload, or they upload none. I don't know, load there. But landlord wants to collect 1 year, but because they want to collect 2 years agency, they'll tell landlord, if I get 2 years agency, and we can get 2 years rent for you. And landlord say, okay, you can do it. I also need money. And so, because of that, through that site, they've cut off issues of agents. Now they have helped you to save time because you don't have to be looking for properties from one street to another. I said, when I get to Nigeria, I want to do something like this too. And when I got to Nigeria, I came to see you here actually. And I said, I want this to happen. I went to the statistics, somebody who was into statistics. And I said, please, what can you do to assist me to facilitate this thing? He said, sir, we don't have data in Nigeria that can drive this. He said, first, do you have the record of the land available practically that we can get from the local level? Now, once we know the available land, now how many houses have we captured on each of these lands? We need to tell the owners of houses to begin to upload pictures of their houses and put in a portal. And then, if they do, both interior and exterior, now will they give you all of their details for you to be able to access these things? He said, sir, you have a lot of work to do, meaning you have to set up it. The woman gave me. The idea died on arrival. Honestly. Because some people would tell me that, why should I upload my property for you? Effect by lower me. You know, it's not only Nigeria, but challenge Paul, you know. From the day one, once you appear to somebody like this, you look fraudulent to them. But today, want to dupe me. I told a woman in Israel, some of my team were in Israel together to pitch for some of our projects, some of our properties. And people got very, very interested. And they've already picked form to buy into one of our estates. And this mama came and she said that, hey, what is there? I want Nigeria only. Meaning that they have come, Nigerians, thieves, robbers. And one of my representatives, my assistant, just came to whisper to me, said, sir, there's a woman talking some things there. You need to address her. So I just left who I was attending to. I went there. I didn't go to meet her. She didn't stop. She continued again. What it was Israel? Only or Nigerians. And she was saying Yoruba. And I went to meet her. I said, excuse me, ma'am. I'm Dr. Adeyemi Adeniyi from the same Nigeria, 31, where you came from. We know that we are both robbers. We are both thieves. Since you said we have come in Nigeria. I said, no matter the number of years you spend overseas and they give you a passport, you are still in Nigeria. I said, so nobody will buy us beyond the price we put on ourselves. You are in a foreign land and you are talking like this, talking ill of your country. I said, ma, your children will eat from it. And your children's children will eat from it. You are the ones who created issues for us in Nigeria because of what you said overseas. I said, have you ever seen any country where there are no issues? Because HIV/AIDS, we have it mostly in Africa by statistics. Does it mean everybody is infected with HIV/AIDS? No. I said, ma, abi mama, any AIDS? He said, no, my dear. I said, so can everybody be a robber in Nigeria? I said, mommy, we are trying to educate people and let them know that no matter how far they stay in a foreign land, they need to still think about investing back home. And people have thought of it, they've prayed about it, they've made up their mind to buy into it, and you came from nowhere, walking about like devil, telling them, you know, she was operating like a agent of the devil. She went our flight, they really said, I didn't think about it that way. Are you aware that in Qatar, if whatever happens in Qatar stays in Qatar, if you get, you know, most of these things we see happening everywhere. Happening in Nigeria that we see online. In fact, I said it one day, I said they should even catch some bloggers and jail them because of the negative impact that they're having on the citizenry the image of Nigerians as a citizen. That you see a flight coming from Nigeria and it lands in a foreign country like this, all the immigration, they will now sit down properly. What did they? Honestly, for no reason, that they just hear, where are you coming from? Nigeria. What are you here for? Yeah. It's so sad. And it is caused by us, the people, about what we say. In Qatar, you see people, when there's an accident, for instance, and the ambulance had not arrived, and you just go there in the name of you want to do content and go and do video, and you post it. By the following morning, you are deported back to where you came from. Even if you have your papers, you don't try it. When I speak to some of our partners in Qatar, one of them specifically, once I call on WhatsApp and they pick, you won't hear what they are saying properly until they put on their VPN. And when they are asked her, I said, why must you turn on your VPN before I can talk to you? She said, once I put on the VPN, every conversation we're having, the government is hearing. Even if you are speaking in a dialect, it's being interpreted and they know what is going on. Every information going out of Qatar is sieved and they receive it. And so if there's any threat, they hear it immediately. In Nigeria, there's an accident scene. You can't help them. Why make the video and post it? That this person just came from London yesterday. Oh, he came to meet his Waterloo. And so somebody who wants to come home saw the video online and say, over my dead body, I'm not going again. By my assignments that God has given to me in the real estate industry, I have Nigerians living in diaspora in different parts of the world who invite us, they gather themselves together, invite us to come and talk to them. They want to invest home. They're only looking for credible organizations to invest through. People are tired of most of these countries. They want to come home. Look at the example of what happened in Ukraine. Nigerians living there. Overnight, everybody had to leave. And that is when you will know that truly you are not a Ukrainian. Because when the chiefs were down, they separated their citizens. They sent trains to go and pick them. So what did the white overnight? They have turned white overnight that they will carry you. They didn't carry them. Yes, they rescued their citizens first. And so God told me, he said, if what happened in Ukraine will happen in any part of the world, ask my people, where are they going to? You better take care of your own home. Yeah, do something at home. We are not saying you should relocate back, but you can do something home. One of my friends, he owns one of the biggest African food chain store in the United States. And so he came home to Nigeria. Gradually, he wants to be bringing his children to Nigeria to be getting used to the system. Because he said for one of them was 18-year-old, they had never been to Nigeria. And so when they came, all of them came. And so right from the airport, he took them straight to Sheraton. Because they've abused their mind about Nigeria. They've told them that Nigerians are chimpanzee in their school. Nigerians walk on this, they climb trees. They don't. There's no civilization, no nothing. So he said his friend now told him, he said, when you are bringing them to Nigeria, first go to the most luxurious place that you know. So for him, it was Sheraton. So from the airport, you see good road straight to Sheraton. When he got to Sheraton, he said, so Dad, are we in Nigeria? He said, yes. He said, but our teacher told us that Nigeria is a jungle. He said, so yeah, we are in the jungle now. He said, but this doesn't look like a jungle. This is beautiful. Yeah. He said, yeah. So meaning your teacher lied to you. And so when they left, he now brought them to visit me in one of our estates, and where we stay rather. And so we're taking a stroll around, and I just heard them talking to themselves, saying, our lecturers lied to us. Our teachers lied to us. This is what actually happens in many of those Western world, where they brainwash our people and they don't want to come home, simply because of the fact that once they brainwash them and they don't want to come home, they get them to work there. You work there, they make a tax, they get tax off you, and you work till you die. And so the father now told me, he said, see that one. He was pointing to one of his children. He said, this one now. He said, because of what they told him, you can see his footwear. He came with what's this? Timberland. Because they told him he was coming to a jungle. He bought Timberland. And he brought one iPhone 8. His father said he has iPhone 15. He said, but he brought iPhone 8 so that in case they steal that one, he will not be affected. That is the lies they've sold to our people. Because of what Nigerians in diaspora see on social media. And they take it hook, line, and sinker. I think there should be something that talks about, checking what goes on social media. Whatever remains in China, I don't know if you know that it remains in China. They don't go out. That's why they don't use WhatsApp in China. Yes, it's WeChat. Yeah. So once you enter, everything they use, that's what you use. Meaning that you can't post anyhow. It's like that in many other parts of the world. But in Nigeria, everybody is posting one devilish thing or the other, when there are good things happening that they will never talk about. So there's a need for us to look at all of these things. So devise an effective geomapping strategy. So this is one of the ways of innovating. So in case you have an idea of how these things can happen, please, the world is waiting for you. Number 3, provide a sound policy regulatory framework. Address governance issues, provide institutions with a regulatory framework, and implement synchronized interventions to improve housing affordability and accessibility. You know, it doesn't cost the government anything to say that, you know what, we're going to be selling from age so to age so, we're making housing for so amount. It happens in other parts of the world. Why can it not happen here? Because why? We remit taxes and we are entitled to some certain things. But if it doesn't happen, that's why we are here. And the essence of this meeting, I believe, is not just for us to come present paper or do presentation, but to catch ideas on what to do to provide solution to the housing industry. So promote sustainability. So there's a need to promote, excuse me, So, collaboration and partnership with subnationals and other stakeholders. There's a need to modernize and reform the Land Use Acts. There's a need to go to allow for easier access to land for mortgage and development purposes with less stringent requirements and costs. So once it is more stringent, people won't go into it. So what do? There's a need to collaborate and partner with individuals. Now look at um, um, the MM1, that's Murtala Mohammed Local Airport 1, built by Barrister Wale Babalaki. By company. Thank you, sir. You know, PPP still works if you actually want it to work. There was just build, operate, and transfer. Operate it for a certain number of years and transfer it back to the government. Then it becomes theirs. You make your money within those years. But when there are issues of this is the amount, this is not the amount, we can't go this and that, at the end of the day, you discover that there'll be a huge challenge. Please, sir, you can signal me when it is time to stop so I can go. Thank you, sir. Number two, public-private partnership. I just spoke about that. Number three, develop the mortgage market and ensure access to land. I told you, I said the biggest challenge we have is access to land. Land that is actually genuine, because there are some land that their government acquired. Now, somebody sold the land to us at the time. By the time we eventually got to know, we discovered that it was committed acquisition. We have acquisition. Acquisition is better. We have committed acquisition. We have free acquisition and committed. Free is where you should stay. When you do acquisition, you may still ratify it. But committed acquisition is a no-no. Why? Because government has planned that they are putting something there in the nearest future. It may not be in the immediate, but it's in the future. But you discover that there are some governments that will come to power and they will throw global acquisition to a particular area. Until they leave office, they will not do anything in that place. And nobody can move close to those places. There's a need to make land accessible for people. Don't just through global acquisition. Let people be able to have access to this land so they can develop. Now, as I speak to you, Brazil, they are talking to us. They are saying, you know what? We want to come and build companies where we can manufacture finishing materials. And we bring the gadgets. By His grace, I'm their representative in Nigeria. Our company. But, when we look at the bureaucracy involved and the amount we need to give you the land, even the Brazil will say, talk to your people first. So countries are willing to come, willing to invest, but are we giving them the ease of doing business as it should be? Now, subnational reforms, because of my time, let me run, please. Promote sustainability. There's a need to promote green building practices, utilize renewable energy sources, energy efficient materials, and sustainable construction. Now, I saw at the World Bank how people were sitting very close to a flower pot. This is Covenant University, and you are known for number one. I'm sure maybe something like that is already happening here. I saw at the World Bank that people were sitting close to different flower pots. What were they doing? They were using the electron inside the flower to charge their phones. They've converted, and you just see, you just see charger come out of the body of the plants, and they're using it to charge phones at different points. I will be very sincere with you. On that trip, I felt like, which world am I living, Gogo? I'm serious. I felt like, because we're four that represented Nigeria at that conference, and I told my partners that went there together, I said, Ati Dagbaju, we're too old for this conference. Honestly, we're not close to where these guys are. And most of the people who innovated these things, they are 21, 22 of age. And so, the same way that they use those electrons to generate electricity, that they're using to charge their phones, when you go to some communities, all the green plants around that area, that's what is generating electricity for them. Can't we make that happen also in Nigeria? Yes, I've seen in some states where some people have actually done it. Yes, they use wind also, to generate. Some people use wave current of water to generate. Where exactly are we? So promote green building practices, utilize renewable energy sources, energy efficient materials, and sustainable construction techniques to reduce environmental impact and improve building performance. Um, there's a technology that one of the professors at the Imperial College, he took me on a tour in the UK, and I saw that we can actually eliminate the use of brick and mortar. So we don't have to fight about how many bags of cement have you used. When they have used just 5, they tell you they have used 15. And Baba Abuda has carried 10 away. You don't need to fight anybody. What they use there is they have taken all of these cements into a factory, and they mix it with some chemical components, and they come out with a slate, a board, like the gypsum board and all of that. They come out with that, and there's a technology that they use just to put all of it together, and it forms a house. So there's nothing like, thank you, sir. I've been expecting it before now, sir. Thank you, sir. So they just put all of it together, no water. Of course, I'm sure many of you know it, dry construction. No water, no sun on site, and yet that is where scripture is fulfilled, that there may be no wind, there may be no rain, yet the valley will be filled with water. When will we get there in Nigeria? In Nigeria, you must see, if they don't cause trouble and fight, they are not doing construction. In those, you will love to work in such places, and that's why you can blame people who are running away. So, reduce construction waste, implement effective resource management, recycling, and material reuse to reduce project costs and mitigate environmental degradation. So, in order to achieve this, there's a need to reuse. Like in some of our project sites, what we do is all the off-cuts they have on a particular project. There was a day, one of my lead engineer said he was just passing, and he saw where they used to drop off-cuts, and he saw that the off-cut has reduced. I said, hello, sir, what's going on here? Someone has been packing off-cuts and been selling somewhere. Meanwhile, the plan was all those off-cuts, when we're doing fence in some other sites, trying to fence a particular project, we can use in places where we need to do pile foundation or want to do whichever kind of foundation also, that we can still put those. It doesn't need a full length, that we can just put all this off-cut together. So let's learn to reuse and reduce construction waste. Now, 3, encourage investment in environmentally friendly techniques. Invest in technologies and procedures that can spur innovation and lower the carbon footprint of building materials, expanding the market for green manufacturing. So there's a need to encourage investment in environmental friendly techniques. So that is why we are here. There's a need to look at how we can come up with things that can foster these developments to mitigate or reduce the gap we have in the housing industry. So my submission will be this: that's one of the reasons why we are here, and one of the reasons why we are given this opportunity to look at this topic is to see what we can do to introduce ideas, to introduce things that will better reduce the housing gap, the housing deficits in Nigeria. Now, please, if we begin to look at what the challenges are, we will never be able to do anything. But if we look at what the solutions to the challenges will be, and see, I'll say this. I always say this among my colleagues in industry, that we need to stop complaining about what is going on in Nigeria. You know why? Because, like I said at the beginning of my presentation, it will not get better. It's not a cost. Okay, which kind of prayer will you pray that will reduce the price of fuel, petrol, from what it is to what it was before? Honestly, it's not realistic. So rather than praying that prayer, I begin to look at how do I double my hustle? That if they are selling 2,000 naira per liter, I'll still be able to afford it, right? Because there's little or nothing you and I will be able to do about reducing those prices. Other than that, we begin to look at how to increase, our streams of income to see how we can better live a better life and be able to provide and afford many of these things. Now, this is it. When I come into this hall with a torchlight, even though all the lights are on, it holds no value because we already have lights on. But by the time we switch off all of these lights and it's dark out there and everywhere seems dark, it's whoever that brings a torchlight that is the leader, because that's the person carrying light. That's the person people will follow because he has a solution to a way out of the darkness. What does that mean? Nigeria is in a dark state, but it is whoever carries torch that will lead us. I don't have to go to places where there are no issues anymore because the money you are looking for is tied to the issues. It's only looking for you to give value. Whether you like my face or you don't like my face, if I give you some of our short-let apartments, you will rent it because they are beautiful. And if you sleep there, you will see God. Meaning you will come back again. So the testimony for many of them is this. Once they sleep there, they want to extend because they love the ambience, they love the environment. It's quiet. You don't need to, they don't even ask for who is the MD of this company. It's not important because they have value for their money. So regardless of the state you come from, it's not as important as the solution you give. So let's think more of solution and stop thinking of relocation. Because those who are there are also thinking of how to come back home. I met a guy as I submit. He was to come and fix the heating system of where I used at the time in the UK. And when he came, I saw one mark on his face, pam, pam. Automatically, I knew that he's one of us. So I kept quiet. And at some point, I asked him, "Sir, what's your name?" And he gave me a Yoruba name. I said, Egmo. So you are the one that the white company sent to come and fix this heater. He said, Egmo. He said, "So are you planning, have you relocated here?" I said, "Relocate." "No, I only came for a program." I said, "So, sir, what about you?" He said, "Sir, I've been here for 20-something years." So I said, "But I hope you come home." He said, "I don't want to start coming home." I said, "But I hope you have a place to stay when you come home." He said, well, I know that when somebody wants to give you answer, and first is, there's a problem. Or they start with actually. I said, "So, no plan, 20-something years, you don't have anything." He said, "Sir," he said, "if you know anybody that can help me, I actually want to come home. I'm tired here." I felt really bad for him. And I said, "Sir, by the grace of God, this is what I do for a living in Nigeria. And so we can help you look for something that you can be paying small, maybe land or maybe a house. You don't have to start big, you can start small. But no matter what the situation is, you can start anyhow. Because if people who have done 35 years, 40 years, I'm telling you as I go, the reason why I never relocated. If after 35 years, 30 years, 25 years in those countries, and they come and meet me and say, "Sir," after all the presentation, and say, "So, sir, how can we be coming home small? Advise us." I said, "So you want to come home?" I said, "Won't we come home, me? After 35 years, this code will kill us." So I say, "Okay, so if I relocate too, after those years again, which I don't have, that means I'll still look for one estate developer someday and say, almost which I want to come back home." So rather than be the person that will be looking for somebody, let me be the one they are looking for to solve that problem. So I rather stay here and be the one to be solving it for them. So with these things, I want you to know that Nigeria has a lot of huge prospects and potential. If not, why will a boy like me, a one-time road organizer in Lagos and a one-time bus conductor in Lagos, be building vast empires by His grace? I'd like you to know that there is a lot of hope and prospect in Nigeria, especially in the housing sector. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much.
Once again, please a round
Thank
of
you so much,
applause
sir.
for Dr.
Thank you,
Adeyemi
very
Adeniyi.
much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for the honor.
I believe you agree with me that he just delivered a lecture, very inspiring one on the topic that he has treated, bridging the housing deficit